Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Konstantinos Papachristou, and I welcome you to just an APSC shooter live streaming. As you understand, today's live streaming will be in English, and I have to apologize in advance for my bad vocabulary, for my bad accent, my bad English. Unfortunately, I'm not a native speaker. But nevertheless, today we have a well-known international shooter who doesn't need any introduction. Good afternoon, Paul. Welcome.
Good evening.
Welcome to your second Just an IPSC shooter live streaming. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. Thank you for sharing your experience with our community, with our IPSC Greek community, not only the Greek community. Thank you for having you here.
Thank you for having me again. It's always a pleasure to have a conversation with you. And I say good evening and good morning to our friends around the world, and kalispera to the Greeks in Greece.
So, how's the weather in Greece?
Actually, not too bad. This is the beautiful thing about Greece. Last year when I got here, I seem to have brought all the bad weather from Estonia, and we had those huge snowstorms. But so far this year, touch wood, it's been pretty pleasant. Today was 20 degrees in Athens. We had some sun. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a bit colder next week, but it's been really nice.
Right now in Germany, where I live, in Ramstein, it's -8. And
Ouch.
The prediction for tomorrow is -10. So, as you understand, Greece is a very blessed country concerning the meteorological condition and the climate, which is a very good thing for the IPSC because it's an outdoor sport, as you know. So,
by the way, before you carry on, your English and your grammatics are not that bad. I don't know why you say, excuse me for my English. It's very, very good.
You'll see. You'll see why. So, shall we begin?
Yes.
Before we discuss about IPSC, about your 1 year here in Greece, I'd like to discuss and promote, of course, your professional activities. So, you work together with one of the leading dealers in our sport in Greece, Kalkatsakos family. Can you tell us a few things about this collaboration and about the new store that you advertise from your Facebook page and that you have just opened?
Yes, it's a fantastic store. As you know, I work for the Kalkatsakos family. Andreas and Andonis are with me every day in the store, and it's a fantastic environment to work in, and the family's been going for 3 generations in Greece, involved with firearms and everything that goes with that. We recently began looking at a new premises after Kalkatsakos had been in the center of Athens for about 36 years, if I'm not mistaken. And it took some time, but the right premises was found. A lot of hard work went into bringing the building up to standard and making it the way the Kalkatsakos family needed it to be and wanted it to be. And we finally moved in, I would say, 2 months ago. We're still in the process of finalizing some changes within the business, but we've come a long way, and we're very, very proud of what we've achieved. I think we have a state-of-the-art gun shop, and we're adding new lines of stock on a daily basis almost. For the customers that visit us, it's a very spacious premises, and we have a massive range of products for them to choose from. It's really, really nice working for not only the family, but working in the new premises is really good.
Yeah. So let me add that your experience is an add-on value for selling products and so on. So
I would hope so.
Yeah. So, shall we begin regarding the IPSC world, the Greek IPSC? You already been in Greece for 1 year. Our first interview was when you participated at your first, correct me if I'm wrong, your first Hellenic Nationals.
That is correct. It
And
was the first one, yes.
after 1 year, you have competed in 2 Hellenic nationals, one in Kozani and one in Rhodos, in several Greek competitions all over Greece, concerning level 3 matches and so on. So I will make you some questions in order to give us an idea, your perspective about Greek IPSC. So
certainly,
my first question should be: you are competing in Greece for a year. What is your opinion regarding the Greek IPSC level?
Okay, when I got to Greece just over a year ago and competed at the first Hellenic Nationals, I think I placed 5th overall. I think there was an international competitor there as well, and 3rd out of the Greeks. I just transitioned, hadn't got my feet on the ground, and it was a good match to go to. I hadn't shot against the Greeks before. I had many years before that, but it was a surprise to me to see the level of sportsmanship, the level of ability, the skill level amongst the Greeks, who we don't see a lot of internationally. So yes, it was interesting, the first round. The second round, which happened recently on Rhodes, I was prepared for. I'd done my training, I'd prepared mentally, I'd prepared my equipment, and I went into that with the right mindset. And it was a battle till the last round. I didn't win by much, but a win it was, and I'm grateful for that. It was a very tough match, and the top players in production are keeping me very honest and making me work very, very hard. So yes, the skill level's there, the competitiveness is definitely there, and it's fun to compete against people who are pushing you really, really hard. And I think I'm pushing them too.
So you think that the level of Greek shooters is good enough? They are competitive enough? And what about our shooting ranges?
One of the good things I've seen in Greece is that we have a lot of shooting ranges. I've participated at every single level 2 there is, from the islands through to the mainland, up right to Orestiada at the top of Greece, level 3s and 2s. And I've got to see a lot of the ranges. I can't even begin to tell you how many matches I've shot this year, but I think it's more than 47, if I'm not mistaken.
And more, most probably. And more, most probably.
Yeah, that's not counting, that's counting everything, including the level 1s. But we have a lot of shooting ranges. It's nice that I would say 99% of them are outdoor ranges, which is awesome. The infrastructure is a little bit lacking. I think we lag behind a little bit in the infrastructure side of things. Setting up could be a bit better, although it takes time. And we must remember there's a positive and a negative to everything we look at and criticize. But it's useful criticism. There's always a handful of people that do all the work, and it's always the same few people. And they do a very good job with what they have. But we are behind a little bit in our range setup and structure.
The facilities that supporting the shooting range, because we believe, for example, in Greece we believe that a football stadium, it's only the grass. You get good grass and the lines, you're okay. But as you can see in abroad, stadium for them are also the stores, are also everything that can bring them money.
Yeah,
so
look, the shooting range is there. The place where we actually compete on each stage is there. But we could look at some upgrading of the infrastructure around all of that, finishing off the ranges nicely so they're presentable to international visitors and visitors from other countries. But as I say, it's a few people doing a lot of the work, and we've got a level 2 coming up shortly that we've offered to go and help set up the stages for, make sure we can make it as good as possible for the people that are attending.
So then the one thing that I keep is the infrastructures that we have to update or to upgrade our facilities that support our shooting ranges.
Yes, having said that, I've been to some exceptional shooting ranges in Greece. Ryan Shooting Club up in the north is an amazing facility. It's lawned, it's beautiful. The clubhouse is one of the best I've seen in the world. Regardless of the infrastructure, the philoxenia and the welcoming atmosphere,
the
hospitality is amazing at every single range we go to. So we're just talking about the actual infrastructure of some of the ranges that could use a bit of maintenance and upkeep.
I've never been to Orion. When I come back to Greece, it will be one of my priorities in order to visit this shooting range, which has a very good critics. Anyway, moving on. Do you believe our matches are competitive enough to attract athletes from abroad? And the reason I'm asking that is that for the last period, we are talking about athletic tourism that we can provide through sports, money with tourism. So do you think that we can combine that to be competitive and to attract big names or shooters from all over the world in order to compete in Greece in our level 3 matches?
Look, it's a very good question. I don't think the difficulty or the competitiveness of the match is what's going to attract people. I think it's an overall package. Being Greece itself is a major draw card. The food, the culture, the hospitality, the sea that we have, the Mediterranean, all those are draw cards. But getting back to that one specific word, you talk about the competitiveness. I think we could do better there. And it's not an expensive thing to improve. It's not more of a time-consuming thing to improve. It just takes a little bit more, maybe a little bit more time to set up stages that test all the shooting skills. I've been to a lot of matches, as I said earlier. I still haven't come across prone shooting position or a tight kneeling position. And as a sportsman, as a competitive shooter, I train all these things all the time because we never know what we're going to get at the next match. So we could use a bigger or a higher degree of difficulty on our stages. Sometimes I see the stage design and set up to make it difficult. The thought process is to put small plates at ridiculous distances, and that makes it a hard match. It doesn't. What it does is it takes one skill out of the many skills that you need to compete effectively in IPSC, and you testing that on every single stage. And that's not how you make a match tough. To make a match tough, you need to have a little bit of everything. Your moving targets, your penalty targets, your small steel, your poppers, your twisters, your drop turners, your Mickey Mouses, some long distance shots on one stage, a strong hand, a weak hand, a prone, and things like that. So I think a lot more thought can go into the stage setup to pull out the men from the boys as far as the training is concerned and the technical aspects of what we do in IPSC. I don't see it tested enough. I see the same thing over and over again, and it's not a true test of our ability.
Copy and understood that right now, as I know, there is a big discussion in Greece concerning matches with speed, matches with positions that with stable positions that you start from a specific positions all the time and so on. And it's a big discussion in between these two. I don't know. You have the knowledge, the experience. I totally agree with you. That we have to define again what is the meaning of difficulty. What do you mean when we say difficult matches? It doesn't mean that you have to do atrocities for moving a target far enough. So I don't know.
Look, I have no issue with having one stage that tests your accuracy on a target at 50 meters, but make that target an open target. Don't put a penalty on it or make it a moving target. if you're going to test my strong hand and weak hand, do it on reasonable targets. Don't put swinging penalties in there and half targets to test my strong hand and weak hand. It's when some of the stage designers try and implement difficulty into a stage, they overdo it. And the Greek word is to parakanon. So you've got weak hand on a swinging penalty target, on small targets, with an unloaded gun all at the same time. And there's no need for that. You can test the unloaded start on a normal stage. You can test the small targets with penalties on a freestyle stage, and you can test your accuracy on a stage with one or two very distant targets. And then you're balancing out the match, so you're testing everything.
I can use another Greek word, sadistic. Don't be sadistic. Okay? I think it's another Greek word that describes perfectly some designs and thoughts regarding matches. How do you think we can advertise our competitions?
Advertising, look, social media is probably the best platform to advertise our competitions. People like you, and there's some others out there who are constantly grabbing match videos and results and prize givings and uploading them. What you do specifically is putting us on the map from a social media point of view. We have some big name matches in Greece that we do once a year. COVID knocked Greece around for 2 years. That was difficult, but we just had the MEO in Rhodes after the Greek nationals. And I think we could have done better in attracting some international shooters. How can we make it better? Again, facilities are very important. You come to Greece, you know you're going to get the Mediterranean Sea, you know you're going to get good food, you know you're going to get good weather, but you don't know what you're going to get at the range. Excuse me. So upgrading our ranges, making sure they fit within the European international scene, and you have the facilities for the international shooters. And word spreads. If you have one really good match where you've had some international competitors come, they're going to want to come back to that match. Like Canal Challenge in Corinthos. Mr. Kiliadakis' match. Yannis, who's hosting the European champs next year. He's built a reputation for running a good match over the years. Excuse me again.
Okay. That's right.
And people keep coming back to those matches. Granted that this year was probably the first year out of COVID, and people still weren't sure what was happening. So numbers weren't where they needed to be. But I think this year coming with the next year, with the European champs being held in Corinthos in Greece, we're going to have a big turnout for the Canal Challenge. The serious shooters are going to want to experience the range and the stages, not the same ones, but just the thought process in the stages before they come and shoot the main match of the year, which is the European champs, which we are certainly honored to host in Greece.
From my perspective, the European Handgun Championship is a very good opportunity to advertise ourselves, who we are, where we're going,
Absolutely.
And what we want to do with our IPSC. So it's a very good opportunity that we must not lose it, because it will be beneficial for our years to come, because we have a lot of level 3 matches around Greece. So if we combine these level 3 matches with the right dates, for example, the Hellenic Nationals that are taking place next year in April at Chania, at the same period of time is the Catholic Easter. So as you understand, a European shooter with his leave at this period of time, he will combine vacations with a big competitive match in Greece and enjoy, of course, the Mediterranean Sea, Chania, the Greek food, and so on. So my perspective is to target at specific dates, schedule our big matches in these specific dates in order to attract foreign shooters. The meaning of attracting foreign shooters: add-on value, first of all, money, of course, and you will have the evolution to keep moving for your IPSC post, because as you can see, in every competition they are the same shooters.
That's true.
Yeah, that's, of course, that's true. That's my perspective, and I don't know if it's right or not. Nevertheless, What is your opinion about our structure as Greek IPSC and our bureaucracy? You have the experience, and later on I will ask you to make a comparison with the Australian IPSC, and I know that you are discussing with other shooters from other European countries, from USA, and so on. Can you please tell us what is your opinion about our structure, our bureaucracy, our papers that we need, and so on, after 1 year?
Okay. After 1 year, I still don't understand it fully, if that makes any sense. But again, there's good and bad. The structure in Greece seems to work. Although it's a bit clunky and rattly, it does work. We get our gun licenses, we join SCOE, we join IPSC, and we get to play the game that we love to play. Every country has its nuances and its idiosyncrasies and certain things that are more difficult than others to get done. But I haven't found it that difficult in Greece. Everybody's helpful. The bureaucracy around the firearms legislation is difficult for me to understand because I believe certain things have been approved, like PCC, possibly reloading for shooters at the higher levels. But this doesn't seem to go any further, and it might be stuck there for 2 or 3 years, and I don't understand why, because it's approved. It just needs a stamp to make it happen. So that bureaucracy I don't understand. If I'm already considered by the Greek government to be safe to have a handgun to shoot IPSC, why do I have to wait a year to get another handgun? I don't understand that. I don't understand the logic. And I think it's 4 firearms per person. Unless you're an elite athlete, I think you can have 6. Mm-hmm. There's certain little things there that I think go back a long, long way that have to be revisited. And I think, like with every other country I've shot IPSC in, nobody wants to rock the boat. Everyone's afraid to push a little bit too hard in case it changes for the negative and not for the positive. And I've been in some parts of Australia where rocking the boat is considered dangerous because we might attract attention to ourselves. And people go, whoa, what are these guys doing? And I think that's the wrong approach, because we are out there. We are legal, and we are operating within a legal framework, and we're playing a legitimate, recognized sport. So we shouldn't be afraid to say, hey, here we are, this is what we do, and we want to make it a bit easier for people who want to enter the shooting discipline, be it Stathero or Praktiki, IPSC or Silhouette or whatever discipline they choose to shoot. We should have our, what is the word for the people who look after us? IPSC Greece, I think, should be doing a little bit more to push legislation to eliminate some of the barriers and hurdles we face to do our sport.
You're talking about the consultant committee that supports the Shooting Federation.
Okay, Shooting Federation, it's called in Greece. Well, I don't see what's going on behind the closed doors in relation to looking at the legislation and the way things are done. But I haven't seen anything change since I've been in Greece, and I haven't seen anybody say, well, we're going to push for this, or we're going to push for that, or we're going to try and get PCC legalized so we can start shooting 3-gun matches and stuff like that. I don't know what's happening there.
Mm-hmm. So I think that the biggest fear of shooters all over the world, not here in Greece, not to push things, is the fear of losing their guns. That's our biggest fear. We think that if we push things, if we request more, we're going to lose what we have. And because of this fear, wow, sometimes we don't press things. My opinion, my poor opinion, I may say, is that when you want to take something, you have to provide facts. You have to provide something that is solid. For example,
statistical facts.
Statistical facts. We have a community of 7,200 shooters. It's a big market.
It's huge.
It's a huge for a Greece, for a country like Greece. In Germany, I think that the competitive shooters, the IPSC shooters, are 2,000. If you compare it with Greece, it's So
it's huge.
It's huge. Our community is big, so we have to provide statistical facts also about our safety, about our accidents. Our accidents right now, as far as I know, is 0. So that means discipline.
I haven't seen one in more than 12 months of shooting in Greece.
So you see the safety rules that we follow. So another fact is we are safe. So another point is that we must know how to present our requests. You don't present your requests with nagging or complaining.
It's important to have the right people to do this work.
Of course.
And I don't know who the people are.
With knowledge.
But we need the right people who are disciplined and who run it like a business.
Yes.
They approach it like a business offer. This is what we need to do. How can we achieve this goal? We want to be more competitive in Greece. We want to attract international competition, etc., etc.
And I will use an expression that I use in my job a lot: the operational impact. We want this, and the impact will be that. We need this, and the benefit will be that. We need this, and the pros, not only for our community, but also for Greece, is that. So that's why I'm saying that always you have to present it in a right professional way.
Totally agree. It has to be done professionally.
So let's talk about Australia. I don't know if I'm pronouncing well, because in Greece we say Australia. We forget the app. So
Australia.
So what about Australia?
Legislation in Australia, I would say, is similar to Greece. You have to be a member of a shooting club for some time before you can get a handgun license. And you can only use that handgun to shoot the discipline that you're a member of. There is a limit on firearms that you can have per caliber. For example, I need to give reasonable reasons why I want a second 9mm pistol. It's not that I can only have 4 or 5 like in Greece. It's like if I have one 9mm and I want another one, I have to have a very good compelling reason for that to happen. And now we're talking about only one area in Australia, Western Australia. In Queensland, that would be different. But in Western Australia, where I was from, in Perth, you had to have a valid reason that was understood by the firearms department to give you a second 9mm. The waiting times are not as long as they are in Greece. I think people are waiting up to 3 months in Greece to get a firearms license after they've done the 1 year of being a member at their shooting club, or silogo as we say. In Australia, you wait between 4 and 6 weeks, sometimes 8 weeks. If it's your first firearms license application, it'll take a bit longer. Thereafter, it'll probably go through in a month and a half. So different hurdles, but still some obstacles. And I'll give you an example. IPSC in Australia, we cannot shoot with 40 cal. So if you want to shoot major, you have to shoot 357 SIG. So IPSC, governing body, had to make special dispensation for Australia to have major in standard, and they allowed them to shoot 357 SIG. And I think that was upheld at the last General Assembly, so the Australians can still have major. But 40 cal is not legal in Australia for IPSC. But you can have 40 cal to shoot steel silhouette. So people are getting licenses for 40 cals to shoot a different discipline, but we can't get a license to shoot 40 cal in IPSC. And this is extremely strange. And we've had this conversation in Australia many times. And again, we have issues with people not wanting to rock the boat and not wanting to present it the way it should be presented. But there we go. The net effect is that IPSC shooters that are competitive in Australia, that want to shoot abroad, have to swap between 357 SIG and 40 cal. And this is crazy, because as you know, if you've been practicing with 357 SIG for 3 years and you go to a world shoot and shoot 40 cal, you're going to need a bit of time to acclimatize to the different recoil impulse. And then there's probably going to be issues with your gun. It's a nightmare. So different obstacles, but the same sort of bullshit that we have to deal with as IPSC shooters.
So in Italy, they understand the mistake, for example, with the 9mm.
They've just fixed it.
They fixed that, and now they are very competitive. And they're eager to take big competitions like the Pagosmio,
the World Shoot.
The World Shoot. Now, after the release of the 9mm, now they really want to do things. They want to do great things. So, and of course, they're inviting shooters, champions, European champions from several countries to Italy in order to train their young shooters, which is a step forward. So
that's right. So, yes. Well, it makes it so much easier for people to travel there and shoot in production or classic minor or standard minor, because we all shoot the same ammunition now. Previously to that, for those who don't know, in Italy you couldn't shoot 9x19.
Yeah.
You had to shoot 9x21.
Yeah, they understand it, they fix it, and now they rock the boat.
Congratulations to them, that's awesome.
Yeah. So right now, after our 15 minutes nagging, 15 minutes of complaining, so let's say, what things do you believe that we must change for the better, for the future of Greek IPSC?
When you say we must change, are you talking about the shooters in this country, the range owners, or the government?
All of them. Okay. Because government, our consultant committee, our shooting confederation, the shooters, the mindset of the shooters, the mindset of the clubs, the mindset of the shooting ranges must change, because we have to move forward. We have to, how can I say that? We have to see the future, to evolution. If you stay the same, if you stay the same, you die.
I agree. Look, everybody's got to do their bit. It doesn't matter how small you are or how small that bit is, but it all adds up at the end of the day. If we're all pulling in the same, if most of us, because we can't all pull in the same direction, that doesn't work anywhere in the world. But if most of us have the same goal, stoho, if we're looking at the same place we want to get to, and we do what we can in our lives to achieve that for the greater good of all the shooters in Greece, then it's achievable. But if we're pulling in opposite directions and we're only looking at the dollar we can get today and not the dollar we can get tomorrow and the next day, then it's going to be very short-lived, and we're never going to get to where we need to be and where we want to go. Having said that, it's not all bad. Shooting in Greece is amazing. But we all need to do something. So let's start at the grassroots level. The shooters,
Paul, sorry,
our attitude.
Paul, sorry for interrupting you, but we lost the connection to the internet. I will try to solve it. I don't know why. I don't have internet. I don't know anything about your connection, but unfortunately, okay, we're back in business.
Okay.
Sorry.
My connection is good.
For our viewers, sorry for this small gap, but as you understand, we are connected from Germany to Greece, and we may have some gaps during our connection. Sorry about that.
Gremlins. Okay, how far back do we go? How much did we miss?
I think 2 minutes.
Okay, I think ask your question again, and I'll pick it up from there.
So my questions was about what do you think we have to change in our PSC, and you said about the whole mindset to see it in a bigger perspective, in a bigger view.
Right. So for me, there's 3 or 4 parts to this question. We have the shooters, we have the range owners, we have the presidents of IPSC, or the president of IPSC, and that group of people, and then we have the government. So I can't go to the government and lobby as a shooter. I hopefully, the way it should work is my president of my club comes to me and says the president of IPSC has these things he wants to bring up, or she wants to bring up, or these things are being brought up at the General Assembly, How do you all feel about it? And we vote, and we give our president of our club what we call a mandate. He either goes with an open mandate where he votes the way he wants to vote, or he goes with a mandate from the majority of the shooters and he goes and votes. And then the president of IPSC needs to take that vote from all the presidents of the clubs and present it to the General Assembly, which is our biggest meeting for IPSC, or to the government if it's something we're trying to get changed. But we all need to do our bit, as I said earlier. No matter how small that bit is, if we're all focused on the same target and we push in the same direction and we support each other, we can achieve the things we need. Now, going one step further up the food chain, I would expect our representatives at the higher levels of IPSC in Greece to be constantly in communication with the powers that need be communicated with, to, number one, be grateful for what we have, but number two, say these are some of the areas we believe there's very little point to having these rules in place, and can we look at possibly doing it this way or that way, and this is the benefit, this is the outcome for Greece, because people want to come here and shoot and have a holiday. So there's so much off-spin in cash for the rest of Greece. We need to present it that way. It needs to be a business plan that is presented to the government officials in a manner that's good for the whole of Greece, not just for the IPSC shooting community, which is the truth at the end of the day. Just to answer your question, we all need to do our bit. I mean, I take new shooters and I train them to be safe on the range, to play the game as best they can so they get maximum enjoyment. The next guy owns a shooting club. He provides a location. He needs to make sure that location is safe so we can play and have a good time without being injured. The presidents of IPSC need to make sure they look after us as best they can and try and get us the things we need so we can be as competitive as we possibly can on the international scene. Having said that, again, not everybody in Greece shoots to be competitive on the international scene, but as you know, there was a recent World Shoot held in the Philippines, and we had 3 Greeks attend the match.
We'll discuss it later on. So, from my perspective, as Kostas, I think it's just as an APSC shooter, I think that there is a misconnection between shooters and the presidents of the clubs. I think that sometimes they are not aligned, sometimes they are not in the same seat of music. Because when you discuss with shooter, you get an opinion, and when you discuss with the president of a club, you see something completely different.
Yeah, that's true.
So I don't know. This is something that we have to fix, to work on that in order to align everybody. Because whenever everybody is aligned, we can achieve our target. The second thing is to engage, from my perspective, again, to engage the local communities. Imagine that you have, let's say, a city in Greece populated with 4,000 inhabitants, having a good shooting range. If you conduct a match over there, level 3, and you have 1,000 shooters, that means 3,000 visitors. It's a very good income for the local community. It's a very good income for everyone. It's a very good advertise for the local products. It's a win-win situation
for everybody.
That's why I'm saying that we have to have a holistic approach, and of course with a business plan, always, because money makes the world go round. Anyway.
Yeah, look, these people, the shooters need hotels, they need food, they want to enjoy the ocean. So there's lots of off-spins for everybody else too.
They will buy also some local products from the local stores.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so consumption is the key in everything. So moving on, what do you think about the level of Greek IPSC athletes? And when I'm saying level, I'm not saying about their performance, but about their attitude.
Okay, so we're not looking at performance, we're looking at attitude.
Yeah. I know it's a difficult question, but
We discussed this a little bit last time, and
Yeah.
I think we spoke about the difference between an athlete, a shooter versus a sportsman. A sportsman or a sports person comes with some values, some ethics, some mannerism on the range, or whatever sport they take part in. We're pretty good in Greece. Not everybody's a sportsman, though. It doesn't matter what country I've shot in. Not everyone's a sportsman. Some people are just there to shoot their gun. It happens to be an IPSC range. They shoot IPSC. If it was a silhouette range, they'd shoot silhouette. If it was ISU, they'd shoot ISU. So we can't expect everyone to have the same attitude. But in Greece, we're pretty good considering we haven't had a lot of exposure internationally. And a lot of the exposure we have had from my recollection in the past is an aging generation like myself. We're pushing the numbers with age, and we're not actually filling in from the bottom. Although we've got a lot of good young shooters, we're not getting them out to shoot a match in Germany, to shoot the World Shoot, or to shoot whatever other matches there are around the world that are of importance. So, yeah, I think it's there, but we could do better, as with most things, as far as the sportsmanship side of things is concerned.
Copy that. Some of the questions for our viewers are the same with the first Just an APSC Shooter live stream that we had 1 year ago with Paul. And the reason is that I want to see the evolution of his opinion, because it's completely different when you're competing for the first time in Greece and after 1 year. That's why some repetitions in the questions.
No problem.
Moving forward and going to the World Shoot. Okay. Although you didn't participate in the World Shoot, I don't know the reasons why. What is your opinion, and if you have any feedback from athletes that participated?
Okay, so to answer your first question, why I didn't go, because a lot of people are asking me that, oh, we didn't see you, where were you, we thought you'd be there. I was an Australian IPSC member, and the Australian system for selecting the team starts 3 years before the World Shoot. So I participated in the selection matches. I earned my slot to represent Australia in production division, along with 3 other shooters. And when I moved to Estonia and finally to Greece to join Greek IPSC, I had to abandon IPSC Australia. And with that, I abandoned my slot, which is fair enough because there's another Australian there who's worked hard and wants to go represent his country. So I lost my slot, and I was still getting my feet on the ground in Greece to consider the World Shoot. Your question about the World Shoot, I've spoken to a number of people, a lot of friends, and they say it was one of the best World Shoots they've ever been to. The organization was impeccable. The ranges were impeccable. The host country was amazing. And I wouldn't have expected anything less from the Philippines. I think Edwin Lim is still the RD in the Philippines, and he is a fantastic human being, and he has nothing but the best interests of the sport at heart, and he will go above and beyond to make sure everything's done correctly and that the shooters looked after and catered to. So yes, nothing but good comments about that World Shoot, and I'm really sorry I missed it.
Philippines and I think Thailand have a great tradition concerning an IPSC.
Yes, amazing. Big membership, a lot of hard work, and a lot of people supporting the sport.
Something that here in Greece we ignore about it, and because as you understand, Thailand is a very exotic country for us, and we don't know a lot of things about them, but they have a great tradition. They're very disciplined.
Beautiful country.
As I saw from the mass media and so on, they were very helpful in solving problems. Anyway,
they do things. What you were talking about earlier about doing things at a level that attracts the attention of the rest of the world and says we're here, we're on the map. This is what they do. Mm-hmm. They do it to another level.
Yeah. So, and now it's the $1 million question. What is your opinion about the absence of a Greek national team?
Okay, there's a lot to discuss there, and it's a controversial topic at the moment. Let's start at the beginning. So the shooter has to be wanting to go. And I've spoken to a number of people, including the president of IPSC, Mr. Papadakos, and we had a few people registered to go. The slots were paid for, everything was in order, and then COVID became a problem, and then it went away, and the World Shoot was finally put in place. And last minute, a lot of people pulled out. They didn't want to go. So at the end of the day, if the Greek athlete is not prepared to attend the match, there's nothing anybody can do about that. Now, we may turn around and say, well, what was the Greek athlete offered to go and represent his country or her country? And as you know, you've mentioned this before, we're over 7,000 IPSC members in Greece. That is a huge number. Those members pay about €40 to Square, which is the governing body, and about €5 to IPSC Greece. So €45 is the total income, but only 5 of that is going to IPSC. Now, you tell me what we're supposed to do if our athletes won't attend a match. The net effect is that we didn't have an official Greek team at the World Championships. And that is very, very sad, considering Greece is hosting the European champs in 2023 here in Corinthos, 1 hour away from Athens. The message it sends is unfathomable in the sense that, hey, Greece has been awarded this level 4 match where we're going to have in excess of 1,000 competitors, international, not just Europe. And at the World Championships a few months prior, we have no Greek representation. Now, there's no blame here. We have to say the good and the bad, as always. I was looking for answers. I'm like, why on earth do we not have a Greek national team representing Greece at the World Championships? And the answer is that the Greeks didn't want to go. They cancelled. They couldn't go for various reasons. They didn't want to go for various reasons. They were afraid of COVID, financial. I don't know the individual answer to each shooter or athlete's reason, but they cancelled. We did have 3 people go, and I haven't heard their names. I know you had Antonia on your show last time, and she went to the World Shoot, and it was nice to see someone there representing Greece, although not a selected member of the national team. She was there, and she did represent Hellas, which is really, really good. But we also had George Mermaridis, and we had Maria Rudova, who are also Greeks, and they were also there. Maria actually carried the Greek flag into the opening ceremony, which is an honor in itself. And thank goodness we actually had someone there to bear the flag through the opening ceremony. Guys, we are hosting the level 4 in Corinthos, the European champs, and none of us, including me, none of us went. If I'd known that there was going to be no representation in Greece officially, I would have put my hand up.
So I totally agree with you, but when you are the lead, when you are the committee, the consulting committee, or the president of Shooting Confederation in Greece, you have to be flexible, agile, and to have reflexes. Meaning that when you have all these cancellations from the 3 elected, not elected, the 3 that were pre-selected or qualified in order to compete at the World Shoot, then you have to find some alternatives. You have to ask some other shooters that they were champions at the Hellenic Championship in order to send somebody. Because as you said, we're hosting the European Championship. So we have to we have to advertise ourselves, even if we have to spend money, even if we came last to the game, to the match. It doesn't matter. You have to be there.
That reminds me of something else that's very important, because you asked about it earlier, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I don't want to forget this. At some point, IPSC Greece, and I wasn't here for this, put in a mandate that required you to achieve 80% or more at the last European Champs in order to be eligible for selection to represent Greece at the World Shoot. You know about that?
Yes, I know about that.
Okay. I've heard the logic behind it. It's to eliminate the people that just want to go on holiday and not focused on the shooting. I understand that. But I've also heard that we want, the other reason being given is that we want to send people who might actually achieve something. But there can only be one winner at a World Shoot. Everybody else is second, third, fourth, all the way down to 1,600, 1,900. And that goes for the teams as well, not just individuals. There's only going to be one first team, one second team, one third team. They get medals. Fourth team, fifth team, sixth team, 10th team, 20th team. Someone finishes last. And I think putting a break point of 80% on the Greek shooters to achieve at a European Championship in order to be eligible for selection to represent Greece is an error.
Imagine that you are the Hellenic champion in production, and you have to compete at the European Championship with Grofel, and you need to catch the 80% of Eric Grofel. Is it doable?
Well, I can give you a perfect example. I went and I shot the Infinity Open in Germany this year. Eric was shooting production, I was shooting production. I shot 75% of Eric. Now, I consider myself to be a good shooter. Mm-hmm. I'm not Eric Grofel, by no means. I would have liked to have been within 15% of Eric, but that didn't happen for a number of reasons. I didn't have a good match, and I shot 75%. Does that mean I don't qualify to represent Greece at a World Championship?
No, of course. Yeah.
This is a problem. And the other problem is, this is a bigger problem now, the number two, is that it doesn't matter where your athletes finish, as long as they're committed to doing their best. You want to send athletes to a World Championship to represent your country that can only achieve 80% at the last European Champs. Well, how on earth do you expect your athletes to improve if they don't go compete with the best and get their butts kicked? Mm-hmm. I shot my first World Shoot and I think it was 65% in standard, but I learned so much at that match. No, I wasn't representing my country, but at the next one I was. Mm-hmm. That's how hard I worked. So it doesn't matter where they finish, as long as they attend and show face and show the Greek flag and show the Hellenic spirit and show the fighting spirit that we might come third, we might come 16th, we might come second, we might come 100th, but we are here and we're here to play. That is sportsmanship. And I don't think some people understand that. I don't care if our team comes last. The fact that they went there and participated and learned something and put Hellas on the map on the international scene is enough for me. We have the flexibility, because it's in our home country, to choose our teams and be very selective about what we do to try and maximize our winning potential in the medals. Mm-hmm. And I know there's some thoughts going around of how we're going to do that, and it works. And this is the job of our selectors and our regional director. And it's a good thing to think about it that way. But I would rather have someone there who comes last than not have anybody at all.
I totally agree with you 100%. We're in the same sheet of music. And of course, I have to add that when you're setting 80% as a qualification standard, you need to have the preconditions, meaning legislation, meaning reload, and so on. When you don't have them, and the majority of your shooters are amateurs, completely amateurs, that they're trying to do their best with the present legislation and the present status of Greek IPSC, because as we know, it's far away from the Spanish one, from the Italian, even the Italian and other countries. How can we compete and achieve this 80%? So this is another perspective, but I totally agree with you with what you said.
Yeah, look, my home, the country where I was born, Zimbabwe, had more shooters there than Greece. They had a full team. South Africa had a massive team. These are third world countries, my friend.
Yes, South Africa was trying to win the next World Shoot. That's why.
And they won it.
Yes, I know, because they prepared well. The preparation was excellent, and that's why they wanted to show to the world of IPSC that here we are. This is our team.
Yes. Well, how's that different to us having the European champs in Greece? What did we show the world?
Anyway, so I think that we said enough about the national team. So I will go now to Corinthos. As we've said many times, Corinthos will be the host for the European Handgun Championship. From your experience, what is your advice to the organizers, to the Yannis Kelaidakis, to Kostis Stathis, and all the team that right now are struggling in order to give the best result for the European Championship?
Well, Yannis and those guys have experience in running fairly big matches. I think this will be the biggest match that Corinthos has seen, and Yannis is on top of it. I was at the range a few weeks ago shooting a level 2, the last zone match, and the range has improved vastly from the perspective of facilities, the ground, the stage areas. It's a lot of time and a lot of money has been spent upgrading the range, preparing it for the European champs, which is what we like to see, because at the end of the day, that infrastructure stays there for us. So it's an opportunity to upgrade, bring the range to standard. Not that it wasn't, it was at a very good standard. And now it's going to be of international standard. And this is fantastic for Greece to have a range that can manage a level 4 like that. And the investment that's going into there now is going to return on itself very well, not only for the shooters at the European champs, but for many, many years to come. That infrastructure will be there for us, which is fantastic. My advice, just keep doing what you're doing. Those guys know what they're doing. They have the experience, as I said before. And we just need our range officers now to step up to the plate, refresh themselves on the rule book so that they know exactly what's going on, and we'll have a fantastic match. And while we're on the subject of Corinthos, we must mention that the Canal Challenges before the European champs at the same range. It'll be really nice to see as many shooters there as possible before the Europeans, just to get a feel for the range, to get a feel for the stage design, a feel for the climate and the food, and test out. I've had a lot of friends from around the world contact me about places to stay in Corinthos, when the matches are, all in preparation for the Europeans. So I think we're going to have a very, very big Canal Challenge this year.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I know that. I've discussed a few things with Kostis Stathis. He told me that they opened the registration a couple of days ago, and it was a big hit from the beginning. So we have a lot.
Fantastic.
We have a lot of registration for the Canal Challenge. From my perspective, concerning the European Championship, as European Championship is not so important as the experience, the infrastructure, and all of the things that we're going to gain, and they will be the foundation for our IPSC.
Exactly.
So we have to gain from this experience. We have to take everything. Not only the infrastructure. The infrastructure will stay in Corinthos. We will have a very good, which is right now it's a very good shooting range, but the experience and all the things that are going to happen to Corinthos must be a heritage for everyone, all over Greece. It's only a benefit for us. It's only really a benefit, and if we have a good
huge benefit,
yes, and if we have a good European Championship. Imagine in the future when a shooter is reading in Facebook or in whatever, is reading about a competition in Greece, says, okay, I've been to European Championship, it was amazing, so I will go to Crete, I will go to Rhodos to Meo, I will go to Thessaloniki, I will go everywhere, because I know I have a good match over there, they have the infrastructure, they have the knowledge, they have the experience. So this is the most important, not the European Championship as European Championship. It's a big challenge, I totally understand.
As a host nation, we capitalize on the fact that we're hosting, and it was like when we had the world shoot in Petersburg, Polokwane in South Africa in 2002. The ranges that were set up were amazing, the infrastructure was amazing, and it's still there and being used today. So there's that spin-off benefit for the rest of the IPSC shooters in Greece, where we'll have the facility for many, many years to come. And as you say, the Europeans will come and go, but the infrastructure and the memories and the thoughts stay, and it reflects on Greece as a whole, which is really, really good. That's why it's important to host matches and to do them well.
I emphasize on this because we had a very good opportunity in other sports. For example, in 2004, we won the European Championship in football. So we were thinking at that time, okay, something new is coming for our football, but never came. Because we lost the experience, we lost everything. So that's why I emphasize this discussion.
We need to grab it and run with it.
Yeah. And we have to keep it as a holy grail. We have to protect it. Because I understand critiques are fine, but we have to keep moving. Anyway, so about you right now, as a competitor shooter, what will be your training and preparation for this great competition?
For the Europeans?
Yeah.
Wow. I've started already. I've actually started my training now.
Sorry for interrupting, but I think it's late. Just kidding.
Well, I think I've been at a pretty decent level. I've made a few drastic changes in the last month or so to my platform and the way I do things, and they're starting to reap the benefits. We have some really, really good shooters in this country. I can't begin to tell you how good they are, because considering the circumstances, they excel at what they do. And I'm going to mention names because these guys are chasing me so hard. I mean, Galanis, a junior, he's shooting so well. Palio Yannis, shooting very well. Papadakos, when he does shoot. Tsandalis, Stremenos, all these people are keeping me honest and they're making me work very hard. To answer your question though, considering the issues we have in Greece, and this is mainly around ammunition now, when we need to train, we need to train. And I've started now with my physical training. I'm doing a number of things now that are going to benefit me next year so that I'm physically fit for the match. And then I'm going to increase my frequency of training and my round count very close to the match. Probably 3 weeks out from the match, I'm going to be at my peak of shooting quantity of ammo. Canal Challenge will be a nice test run, so we'll definitely be there for that. And we'll just be mentally and physically as strong as we can for that match, because now that I'm senior, not that it's easier, because the body starts to fail you in many ways. I'm struggling to see, and I still want to shoot iron sights. But in senior, there's some good shooters in the world. Momšilović, Lubisha is probably number one in the world without a doubt in production now that he's turned 50. And he's going to be my biggest rival that I can see at this moment in time at the Europeans.
Okay. So do you feel an extra burden because the competition will take place in Greece? After all, you're Greek. You're original Greek. So do you feel an extra burden?
No, I don't. IPSC athletes around the world, we have a common denominator. We have something that links us, and we call it the IPSC family for a reason. We understand each other. There's some idiots in every sport, and there's a few of those in IPSC as well, but generally the majority of shooters, we understand each other. We understand the dedication. We understand the personal sacrifice. We understand the hurdles we have to overcome. We all have work, families. Very few of us are sponsored to the point we can just shoot and not have a job. But no, I don't feel any extra pressure. I feel honored. I feel proud to be here at the right time, to represent my country, hopefully, and to do the best I possibly can. And the best I can do is good enough. And obviously, I will do my work so I can be as prepared as I can be and do what I can for the team, wherever I can assist to push them and pass on some knowledge there and some training and coaching. I will do that as well. But we all need to make an effort for this. I don't feel extra pressure. I just feel an opportunity to say, I'm here, I'm Greek, and I'm participating. I'm going to do the best I possibly can. And whatever comes, comes.
Oh, yeah, that's the spirit. So, from your knowledge and your experience, what are the necessary preconditions and training for an athlete to compete in a European Championship? How will you advise, for example, Galanis, who is a young competitor? He's very good enough. So, what are your advices?
Okay, so for the guys that haven't participated in a long match, I'm not sure what the schedule is going to be like for the Europeans, but it'll probably be a 4-day match. I'm just guessing. Endurance is particularly important. People are used to shooting a few hours at a match over one day, maximum 6-7 hours. And then you've got the guys that have been to level 3s and they've shot for 2 days. And that gets a little bit difficult on some people that are not acclimatized to shooting for 2 days, to keep the focus up, to keep the mental energy there and the physical side of it. It starts to hurt. And then when you get to 3 days, I haven't shot a 3-day match in Greece. Yes, I have. Canal Challenge, 3 days, 10 stages a day. And you can see it wearing the athletes down. So if we're 4 days for the Europeans, or even 5, it's going to hurt a lot of people, especially on the 3rd and 4th and 5th day, if there is a 5th day. So my advice would be to start training in conditions that are going to push you physically. Before you draw the gun and shoot, do some physical workout, do some press-ups on the range, run around the range, get the heart rate up, and then shoot. Have a break, have a meal, and then go shoot again on that full stomach. Try and force yourself not to do that in the match, to do that in training. Force yourself to find that extra energy to get your blood flowing back to your brain so you can focus on what you need to do as a shooter, because all that's going to hurt you in the big match if you're not prepared for it. And then, again, as a shooter, you have a responsibility to be safe, so make sure you're safe on the range, and you have a responsibility to know the rules as well. Don't wait for the RO to tell you what the rules are. You're playing a game, you're playing a sport, just like you know how to drive your car or ride your bike or use your washing machine at home. You need to know what the rules are around the sport and the division that you choose to play in. Know your rules, because not everybody knows everything in the rule book, and it's good to understand the basics at least. So have a read of your rule book. Equipment, over a 4-day match, equipment tends to take a beating. Make sure you're running new slide stops, new extractors, new trigger return springs, because those things break, and you don't want that happening during a 4-day match or 5-day match. And pace yourself with your training. Look, there's a level you need to do of training to maintain your standard of shooting, and there's another level of training you need to do to improve it and prepare yourself for a match. For me, that's 2 to 3 weeks out. I will step it up. Any sooner than that, it's just a waste for me. I like to maintain that level and then just bump it up a notch and try and get to a point where I'm almost peaking. So I actually peak in my 2nd day of shooting. I start getting better on my 2nd day of shooting, and my 3rd day is even better. And if it's a 4-day match, my last day is the best, because I'm really getting excited to shoot. And that's about it. Really, anybody's free to contact me if they want some advice on long matches and long days on the range.
In order to sum up with your advices, I may say, first, physical training. Second,
Absolutely.
mentally concentration. The third one is
focus.
The third one is the equipment. And the fourth one, for the most important, is to more or less simulate the match conditions in your training.
Yes.
I don't know if I summarize well what you said.
Yes, it's good enough. And pace yourself with your round count. You don't want to be doing too much too soon. You want to try and build it up so that you peak in the match. You don't want to peak in your training, because then it's only downhill from there. Because every time we take 2 steps forward, there's 1 step back. It's called reset. Or you take 4 steps forward, you're going to come 2 back at some point. You don't want that happening in the match. You want to get to the match and you want to be hungry to pull the trigger. And just at that point where you're getting to your peak. You need to know where that is, though. So that comes from past experience.
Copy that. So at the previous Just an APSC Shooter live streaming, we were discussing with Adonia Krokaropoulou and her participation at the World Shoot. So he mentioned many times her coach Elias Moulelis, who was helping her during her practice. So what's the importance of a coach in the evolution of an athlete?
A coach is critically important. We don't see enough of it in IPSC. The Americans have figured that out a long time ago, and they understand the necessity of a coach. And so do the selectors of the teams. The French understand it. In Greece, I've been hosting a few seminars to pass on some skills, techniques, and knowledge to the shooters. And it's a foreign experience here too. I've had some very good results, and I think the people who I've coached are quite happy. But it's foreign to Greece. It might only mean something to them if someone's coming from abroad, but that's not always the case, that you're getting better just because it's coming from another country overseas, especially America. We have people here who are very competent in being coaches and training and guiding. The importance is real. A coach can keep you focused. A coach keeps records of your performances, of what you're lacking, of what you need to work on, your diet, if that's part of your training regime. Like any other sport in the world, the champions have coaches. This probably comes down to an affordability issue as well. IPSC is one of the few sports in the world where there's no win where you earn any money. There's no cash prizes. We do it for the love of the sport and for the brands that sponsor us with what they can, and we promote their names because they have good products. So it becomes difficult in this sport where we've been taught that we win and get a medal only for us to be able to afford proper coaching, be that physical, mental, because a lot of shooters have psychological coaches too. That's a very, very important part. 90% of IPSC at that level is mental. Mm-hmm. And that involves a sports psychologist if you want to get your head right. And we lack that in Greece. I was fortunate in South Africa to have a sports psychologist for about 6 months, and I learned so much from that. People haven't heard of that here in Greece. So yes, I believe it's critically important, but I don't see how we're going to make that happen in Greece. One example I can think of is if we have the national team selected for a big match, like the Europeans that are coming up, and the government, SCOE, IPSC Greece, put their hands into their pockets and say, guys, we've selected these teams, guys and girls, we've selected these teams. We want to give you every possibility of doing your best. Here's a voucher, here's a card, you've got 2 sessions with a sports psychologist, here's a coach that will happily look at where your shortcomings are, etc., etc. I think that's the only way it can be done.
Mm-hmm. You need also a team leader for the national team, a technical director to run everything, because as a shooter and you belong to the national team, there's no need to worry about your tickets, to worry about your hotels, for your arrangements and so on. All must be arranged by the technical director.
Absolutely.
That's my perspective.
And so a good example of that is Australian national team. when they shoot the world shoot, there's a gentleman appointed who takes care of all these things. In 2 previous world shoots I've attended, it's been Mr. Brown, and he's been amazing. He's run around and done everything that needed to be done and looked after all the teams and athletes, or actually looked after all the shooters from Australia on the range.
So these are the preconditions that we are talking about. Anyway,
absolutely needed.
Moving forward, which country do you think is the most advanced in our sport and why?
I have to put aside my preferences, and I would have to say the USA. Although they don't shoot a lot of IPSC, they shoot USPSA. It's the same hamburger with a different sauce. They're right up there. They have the right culture for firearms, and I know a lot of people say their gun culture is crazy, but it is a little bit easier in the States to train, to find a coach, to get a sports psychologist. People understand these things in America, and when we're competing on the world stage, Eric Rafal's French, but a lot of the winners are American as well. We've got people coming out of the Philippines now, some juniors who are shooting exceptionally well, but we must never forget where these people are training and who they're training with, and where the inspiration comes from too. I know the Philippines have a very, very well-rounded training strategy. They've got some good supporters that make sure they get what they need, but I would have to say the USA.
So saying USA is a good opportunity to say that it's a good example how to not reinvent the wheel. Meaning USA, it's the most advanced country for me also. They're using a lot of things that supports their sport. For example, if you see the application of the USPSA, it's amazing.
Yeah.
You can find any range with everything you need, all the information that you need in order to go to participate in a game, just from your application. You can update everything, your matches, your scores, whatever you like from this application.
No, it's pretty good.
So
they're very good.
We can use USPSA as an example and not to copy paste, let's say, and avoid to reinvent the wheel and start from the beginning. We have, of course, for example, Hellas shooters, but Hellas shooters from my perspective is obsolete.
Actually, it's not too bad. I like it because it gives me a percentage alphas, Charlies, deltas, penalties, and misses.
Okay.
I think it needs an upgrade. It needs a facelift, but it's not a bad platform. It just needs some modernizing. But before we leave that subject alone, what I do like about the USPSA system is every single member of USPSA has an electronic vote for the president of USPSA. So
that goes.
I think
that goes with what we discussed before. That there is a miscommunication between the presidents of the athletes and the athletes. The president of the clubs and the athletes. So I totally agree. Sorry for interrupting, but I totally agree to give vote to the shooters.
What it does is it eliminates the miscommunication between who gets the vote and who carries the vote. It eliminates those middle people, and it goes straight from the shooter to the person they want. And it's an electronic vote online, and there's the people who are running for office. There's their article about what they want to do, who they are, and you vote for who you want. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, simple, quite simple. And
it is simple.
And of course, and very effective. And I may say that.
And the majority gets what they want.
Yeah. Right now, for example, in Greece, we have about an average of 700 shooters, more or less, that they are going to every match, to every competition around Greece. And they don't vote. They vote the president. They're voting the president of the clubs for not participating at the games.
We have 7,000 members of IPSC, and how many did we have at our Hellenic Nationals?
Agreed. So moving on, what do you think we talk about USA, USPSA. What do you think are the preconditions or something that we have missed so far in order to boost a country's IPSC? We said about the legislation, we said about the committees, something else that we missed.
That's difficult to answer because the obvious ones we've already said. What haven't we looked at? I think just trying to be better at what we do. Everything we do, we need to try and be a little bit better at doing it. This is a natural human instinct. If your heart is in what you're doing and you're doing it for the right reason, it's a natural response to want to do it better. That applies to everyone, from a shooter to a range owner to a president. It doesn't matter. If we want to do it better, we will do it better. I think if we just all step it up a notch, especially now before the European Champs in Greece, the cumulative gain forward will be visible. From people's attitudes, to people's shooting, to the way the range looks, to the way we behave, the way we talk to each other. It all just goes up a notch. And this feeds off of itself. People see it and they emulate. And it just spreads. If we all just try a little bit harder in everything we do, I think that it will be noticed.
I totally agree. So the next question is, do you think that IPSC is expanding worldwide? Do you think that there's enough space for professional athletes? Because as I see, there's a minority of professional shooters, a small group up to 10 persons.
Okay, so define professional, someone who earns a living from their sport.
Yeah.
A professional athlete is someone who exclusively does that sport and that's their livelihood.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. Mm-hmm. Okay, there's competitions in America now where first prize is $50,000 US.
Mm-hmm. But not,
and it's not IPSC and it's not USPSA.
Mm-hmm. Copy that.
They're just different kinds of competitions. The Steel Challenge, I think, had $30,000 or $40,000 US first prize. I've seen $11,000 checks for first prize, and then second gets something and third gets something, and you have your division winners as well. I think we've got to start, and look, it's not like we pay less fees than those people do to enter a match. We're paying the same money as they do to enter a match. So where's this money coming from? Someone is motivating the corporations, industry, the manufacturers of ammunition, the manufacturers of firearms. And let's not forget, Greece consumes factory ammunition exclusively when it comes to pistol calibers.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And rifle for that matter. It's only shotgun that people can reload for. So if we as a nation, compared to the other nations who can reload, and I bet you 90% of IPSC shooters reload for the benefits.
We have a handicap.
Yeah, but that handicap, we're not taking that lemonade and turning it into those lemons and turning them into lemonade, because nobody's taking those suppliers, those manufacturers who are supplying Greece millions and millions of rounds of ammunition a year, going, hey guys, we consume so much ammo here. Throw in $2,000 price check. Throw in a $500 price check. Throw in 500 rounds prize. We can't do that in Greece. Throw in something.
Yeah.
But someone who's got the buying power needs to go to those people, and I'm using the ammunition suppliers as an example, and say, hey, our shooters are using your ammo exclusively. Come, give us something.
Yeah, totally.
Instead of
understood.
Yeah, so for that to happen like it does in the States, someone has to go to the main industry suppliers, the main producers, and say, guys, come on, we're playing hard. We want some of our athletes to wear your jerseys, to show your medals, to show your products. How about throwing some money into our sport?
So, as I said, we need something to run. Someone, for example, for when the Hellenic Nationals are taking place, we have someone to go to the sponsors and request things. Okay, guys?
Correct. We mentioned earlier.
We're doing
the director.
Yeah. On April, the Hellenic Nationals will take place in Creta and Chania. So let's say for the first position you will provide ammunition forbidden, but let's say an example, for the second position you will give a gift, t-shirt or whatever you like, just to run things and find some sponsors who will provide an add-on value to our sport. But
that's where it starts. It can be a shirt, it can be a box of ammo to train with, it can be an entry fee back. It starts small, but sponsors start to see the value of what we're doing. They start to see they can get their name and reputation out there, especially for a match like the European Champs. But this has to be dealt with like a business proposal. It can't just be, I'm going to go talk to my friends as Paul Hagiantoniou and go source some sponsorship for some athletes. It doesn't work like that. Like you said earlier, we need to have a technical director for this. We needed somebody for that. There needs to be a team of people responsible for doing that for the Hellenic national team, for example, or for the junior teams. And they need to go out there and hit all the big businesses and say, guys, these people are representing our country. These people are juniors. These people are our ladies team. We need to help them as much as we can. We can't just rely on the income we have from our members, which is the €5 we pay a year to IPSC, and expect them to promote us and push us and get us to the level we need to be. And if we don't do it ourselves, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's a combination, but everything is give and take. Yes. You have to give something in order to take something. Okay, it makes sense. So you have to run, you have to knock some doors, say, okay guys, this is our sport, this is our match, this is a level 3, so support us and we will provide you this.
Correct.
And so on. It's a give and take situation in order to have a win-win status. Anyway, so we're reaching the end of our discussion. Before we finish, one personal question. What is, can you tell us a few things about your daily routine?
My work routine?
Your daily routine, that includes also your work.
Daily. Okay, so I get up in the morning, I get ready for work, I get on a bus. Because we've changed location, I get on a second bus and I go to work. I spend the day there looking after customers, building guns, upgrading guns, fixing guns. I give advice on certain things. I think I have 100% happiness rating with the customers that I've dealt with. And we have long conversations about different shooting platforms for whatever discipline they want to shoot and what they're getting into. And it's really, really nice to do what I love on a daily basis. And I come home and I have some downtime. I try get to the range every weekend. If I'm not doing a seminar, I'm shooting a match. So that's going really, really well. And that's pretty much, I live and breathe IPSC and the shooting sports.
So it's a full day.
It's there's not enough hours in the day sometimes because this week, for example, has been really, really hectic, but a good week so far.
So, reaching the end of our conversation, what would be your advice to all the shooters that are watching us?
Advice that impacts their shooting. Look, if you're a new shooter just getting into it, don't be afraid to ask for help. You will know someone at the range that's shooting or introduce you to shooting. Don't be afraid to ask for help because a little bit of coaching goes a very, very long way in your development as a shooter. And once the bug bites and you become competitive, there is no letting go of that. It's an amazing feeling competing. For shooters that have been in the game a while and they're still trying to improve, consider getting yourself someone to train with. Consider getting someone who shoots better than you to help you out with some skills and techniques. And for the good shooters out there, you know who you are. Just keep plugging away, work on the mental side of your sport because that's where the difference is. It's the mental strength, mental dexterity, and focus a bit more energy into being focused. And that should prove some results for you.
Very good. So, Paul, after 1 hour and 30 minutes suffering my English, sorry about that. Thank you very much for being here and doing this very fruitful and joyful discussion about what we love, thank you very much again for sharing your knowledge and your experience. I have to say in pinpoint that you are one of the well-known shooters around the world, because when I asked Eric Roffel if he knew a Greek shooter, the first name he came was Paul Hagia, and I completed the rest of your name. So, so thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for sharing your knowledge, and I hope we will host you again in the near future, updating your knowledge and your experience on the Greek IPSC. Thank you very much, Paul.
Thank you very much for having me. I just want to say thank you to your audience for hearing us out. And I will take this opportunity to thank my 3 sponsors, Kalkanzakos family, for their continued support and belief in me, CZ Firearms for the best shooting platforms there are, and Double Alpha Academy for some wicked good holsters. Thank you very much, guys, and thank you again for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Paul. Have a good night. So thank you very much for watching us. Thank you very much for being with us for 1 hour and 30 minutes in order to listen to Paul Hagiantoniou, a well-known IPSC athlete who's right now competing in Greece. Thank you very much. I wish you Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and double alpha in your life.